Hey y'all, how y'all doing? Happy Thursday, happy Thankful Thursday. Come on in the room, y'all. Y'all know what I'm gonna do. I'm about to share it to my other page, so that's just gonna take me a second. And y'all already know I have a special guest, so y'all already know it's about to be lit, right? So give me a second. While I'm sharing, I need y'all to come on and share, okay? I need y'all to share on your page. Tag one of your friends in, tag a few of your friends in. They don't want to miss this. They want to be a part of this conversation. So I want y'all to come in and be a part of this wonderful conversation we had. I know y'all seen me posting about it all week. So it's about to be lit. Okay. If y'all in the room already, y'all already know what to do. Come and say hi, say something. Oh, hey mom, how are you? Love you. Hi, Jody. How are you? You came back. You said you were going to come back and you're back. I love people to keep their word. That makes me feel special on inside. So tag, share. And I think that I've got the sharing here. I think for the most part, we're ready in a minute to go ahead. I just want to make sure I get my sharing on because somebody gonna say they didn't see it. And I want to make sure everybody see it, right? I want to make sure everybody feel like they are part of it. Hey JC, how are you? So well, while I'm waiting for people to come on in, I can introduce my guest. I told y'all that, well, first of all, y'all know that we've been doing this whole series on mental health, men's mental health. And, I'll get my backstrap drop again. I'm talking about mental health. All my issues are unisex. It's not a man's or woman issue. Like, let's be clear. However, I was told that some of the stuff seems like it catered more to women. So I wanted to be sure that I specifically targeted some issues that men might think about and let them know how much they are a part of this conversation. So anyway, as I was doing that, I said, okay, I found some wonderful gentlemen that were all therapists that were able to come on. And so far we had great conversation. The first conversation we had, I'm just doing a recap. The first conversation we had was about what was it about? Lord Jesus. This is what happens when you get older like this. The first conversation, I just said it. The first conversation we had was talking about how to visit the wounds of your past. The second conversation we had was about soft, or if you were a punk for talking about your emotions or feelings or acknowledging those things. And then the third conversation we had about the type of environments that we set up as women and society for men and why they don't feel safe in these environments to share and what we can do to shift that mentality. Okay. And so today we have on a person named Ted Peterson. I always want to say Patterson. I keep wanting to say Patterson. Come on in, Ted. Hey, Ted.
What's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
I was so I'm gonna tell y'all how I got these gentlemen. I mean, first of all, I just think social media is amazing. But one of the things I did is I went into a clubhouse room and they were having a conversation about men's mental health. And I was like, oh my God, this is so dope. And I actually just shot my shot and said, hey, anybody that's willing to talk to me about, come on my live and talk to me about men's mental health issues, please, I would appreciate it. And you know what? I got all these guys that said they would. So first of all, salute to you all. Thank you, Ted, for coming on. Ted, just y'all know he's a MA and LAC. He's a counselor. He is a husband, a father. He is a co-host on the Future Network radio show. He's the owner of Elijah's Way, LLC. He is somebody that is a lover of talking about issues especially about men, especially about Black men getting therapy, and very active in that. And so I'm just grateful to have you on. I really appreciate you. Thank you for coming on, Ted.
First and foremost, thank you for having me. I mean, it's an honor and a privilege to be here. So I'm greatly appreciative of that.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be an amazing topic today. So let's see who else I see here. Y'all coming in. I know y'all gonna trickle in. Again, share if y'all can, and we're gonna get right into it. So Ted, I always believe that the way that we break this mental health stigma that is prevalent to everybody, even in 2021, is still to everybody, all races, all people, creeds, but even more so concentrated in our community, with it being Black History Month, and with our men especially. There is this thought process that dealing with feelings, dealing with emotions is a feminine thing, that I don't have it. If I have something, if I think I have something, or if I admit this, I'm having issues, that I am weak, I'm less than, and I'm just not manning up, right? And
Yeah.
the question today is therapy. We talk about this word, we throw it around all the time. Is, I don't need that. That's what most guys probably say, man, I don't need that. That ain't something, man, I'm good. I'm fine. I go to the barbershop, I talk to my boys, you feel me? I have me a cocktail when my girl getting at me. You know what I'm saying? They get to a point where that is their answer, or that's how they feel about it. And so my first question to you is, how do you approach the idea, or what would you say to the man that said, man, I don't need that, or, or don't really know what it means? Like, how would you start the conversation?
Okay. So usually what I do is when you're talking about therapy, right? Therapy is a solution, right? So usually when a person is ready to come to therapy, there's a willingness, right? You have to be ready. Because I always tell people that therapy is work, right? A lot of times people think that therapy is the answer, it's the all-time solution, and it's not, right? It's like to marriage or anything like that. A lot of people want to get married or fall in love with the idea of getting married, but it's one thing to get married, it's another thing to stay married. You understand the concept? So
come on, yes.
So it's the same thing with therapy. It requires you to dig, right? It requires you to explore some things that you may have repressed. It requires you to talk about some feelings that you may not want to talk about. And it calls for uncomfortable conversations, right? However, at the same time, you're getting that release, right? And I think a lot of times as Black men, or just as men in general, like you said, we're told to mask our emotions, and it's how we've been conditioned, right? It's how we've been raised. Especially growing up in an African American household, what happens in this house stays in this house, right? So it's really like, we don't discuss our feelings. And I'll give you even an example from in my personal life. My mom passed away when I was 10 years old, and it took a long time to really process, right? It took me a long time to really talk about that. But even within my immediate family, we never really discussed it. Like, we all knew we were sad. We all knew we had these emotions, but no one talked about the issue. We kind of masked it as if it didn't exist, right? So again, I think sometimes we're conditioned to respond that way. So again, that nature versus nurture, right? What we see, what we experience, what we've been taught. And so on and so forth, right? But I think a lot of times I tell people as a therapist, I always say, it's not my job to change you, right? I don't have that power. I don't have that authority. I don't have that capability. My job as a therapist is to offer you different tools, right? Show you how to use those tools that will be better for you, right? Show you how to use those tools so you can become a better you. And that's my role. And I think that's really what therapy is. Like you said, it's just really what we're doing now, having a conversation, asking different questions, and so on and so forth.
And that's really what I wanted you to say. I mean, not that I was going to guide you, but I'm glad you said that. Sometimes the idea of therapy is this spooky idea that you're laying on a couch, you're burying yourself. They come over and play this music, and you just like, when I was 1 year old and I got hypnotized, it's not that. It can be that, but it's not that. It literally just means you are going to talk to somebody that specializes in this, and literally is going to help you get the tools to walk through this stuff with you, because you have to do it. It's the same way that you might need a trainer at the gym because you're not disciplined enough, or you don't have the tools and the skills to go ahead and do it your own self. It doesn't mean you couldn't do it yourself. It just means, I need this accountability level. I need somebody to help me walk this thing through. So it's no different. I'm glad. The first time I thought of that analogy about a personal trainer. I love analogies out here.
Yeah. But even then, right, just thinking on your concept of personal training, right? We'll put all this time, effort, and money into personal trainers, and buying all of these things for the house, and buying doing all of these things, and going here, traveling here. But when it comes to our mental health, we don't invest in that. Yes.
And you know why we don't invest in it? Because we don't, first of all, the stigma. To acknowledge that I need to invest in mental health means that I have a mental health issue.
Ooh.
Me, mental health issue equals mental illness. And
Wow.
to me, it means that I am crazy, and I'm not crazy.
Right.
Say I'm crazy, or I'm not, broken. I'm not messed up. And I think especially men have even a bigger issue, because let me be clear, I'm a woman, and my testimony or my story is I'm a very strong woman. And one of my things I had to recently get over is that I did not like to ask for help, and vulnerability was hard.
Okay.
And I thought vulnerability equal weakness. I did. That's my personal situation. And I know I'm not the only one. It's a lot of people that believe that. So breaking that, understanding you can drop the strong Black woman, strong Black man, strong person syndrome. You are not super person. You can be strong, but you're a woman, and it's okay to say I hurt. It's okay to say that I need some assistance. It's the same way if your arm was hurting or your knee was hurting, that you would go to a doctor and get that checked out, because there's hurt means that is a symptom that you have a bigger issue, and to actually deal with it. So that's why we don't really do it. But that's why we're having these conversations, to break that up, break that ground up. Like, y'all need to not a real thing. Pat says something that's awesome. She said, when you go, you get to allow the client to have autonomy, not autonomy over themselves. Exactly what it is. It's like, you don't own this. Meaning the therapist. The therapist is not there to do some voodoo magic and fix you all of a sudden. It's not how it works. This is your process.
Yes.
Literally guiding you through this process, or not even guiding you. I want to say just kind of there to assist you. To assist you with walking and unpack, because guess what a wound is? A wound is there, and it might have been there for however long you were, 5, 17 years old, like you said, and literally you might not realize at 40 that you dealt with that.
Yeah.
It's festering and it's infected, and it's spilling out to all of these other parts of your life. So just like when you go to a hospital and you have an infected wound, what's the first thing they do? They go and open it up, no matter how painful it is. They take skilled tools they have to go ahead and numb it, do all those things. That's the same thing you guys are going to be doing. And when you go in, so it's not this big scary thing.
No.
That's necessary. And I like that to make it sound like, even let me give you another analogy, because I'm trying to do this for guys. It's the whole idea of when y'all like to play basketball, and if you're really serious about it in high school, what do? Y'all get an individual mentor or coach, somebody running you through stuff, because you're really trying to get to the NFL or NBA. I know the difference. The NBA.
Yeah.
That's what you do when you're serious about it. When you want to do something, you get you a coach and you get somebody. Same thing. If you're serious about making sure that you're mentally healthy, emotionally healthy, this is something that you want to do. And so that was good. And Patricia said something else. I just want to get some of the comments before, because they come in. That was the idea when I was young. If I have a mental health issue, you would consider crazy and laughed at.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I'm not crazy. Nothing's wrong with me. I'm good. I'm fine. Like, I'll be all right. And we go about life, doing that. We go about life wearing all these different types of masks, masking our feelings, masking our emotions, and not even realizing that, sometimes our breakthrough could be in saying, you know what, I surrender. You know what, I have this issue. I have something that's bothering me, and I just need to let it go. And then the best thing I enjoy about therapy is, right, the person doesn't know you, right?
Unbiased.
It's unbiased. They're completely objective. They're just that's it. They're just there to listen. So you can, it's not mama you're talking to, it's not daddy. Not to say that there's nothing wrong with conversing with those people, but at the same time, just having that listening ear. Sometimes we don't do that.
We definitely need it. And it's like you said, it's nothing wrong with talking to mama, daddy, spouse, because I know men do that a lot. So they marry now, say therapist. No, sir. It's some things that it's nothing wrong with talking to your spouse. Yes, you should have those conversations.
Yeah.
Guess what? Y'all get upset at each other. You're human. Y'all have moments. You might have some things to say about how you feel about your relationship. It's okay to be able to deal with those things in the safety of a place where you can unpack it. Mm-hmm. It's funny because when I went to therapy, and one thing I loved about it was that there's some things that they help you realize that's going on with you that you don't see, because it's you. You know, what's going on with you, it's you. It's the same way that you can't really diagnose yourself. You got to go to the doctor and ask them to see. You can't diagnose. So they help you see things about you that you don't see and give you tools to figure out how to move it. Or if it's and what I see. One of the other things they did that was really great was help me to see something differently. Something I thought was a flaw, they turned it around and said, no, it's not necessarily a flaw. It's actually something that you know is good, but you have to use it this way. And I'm like, it was this big aha moment for me because I was really putting myself down in this moment over here about this. Oh, I do this. And they're like, well, that was necessarily bad. That's a leadership quality. But the difference is how and when to use it. And I'm like, so just giving you those tools, walking you through it, I'm telling you the freedom that you get from being able to deal with and talk about it. Tracy, look, I have people here that's mental health specialists as well. Tracy said mental reframing. I love mental reframing. Patricia said changing your mindset. Another thing Patricia said, counselors are trained to deliberately listen and affirm what you are feeling real and have validity. And how often would you sometimes can tell your boys or you can tell your family, hey, I'm not really feeling good. I'm not sure. Man,
yeah, you're fine.
Mm-hmm. You good, dude. Why you tripping? Like you ain't, man, that ain't nothing, dude. Man, me and my girl, I'm feeling some kind of way about something. Dog, listen, I'm gonna take you out to this party, dude. We gonna get it right. She'll be good in a minute. It's these unhealthy, toxic ways, and we don't realize it sometimes that it's toxic because if that's all that's around you.
Right.
Let's talk about that. Come on, help me out with that because I think sometimes people do feel like, no, I don't need therapy. My therapy are my friends, and I'm going to bring things to them. They're not going to lead me astray, but let alone they don't realize that they could be having toxic and dysfunctional ways of thinking too. So speak to that.
So one of the things that I've learned and realized that as you grow, right, sometimes things and people around you change. And here's what I mean by that, right? So before I got married, I'm in a fraternity. I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. But even before getting married, you hang around with your friends, you hang around with your boys, certain conversations you have, certain places you would go. That's fine. Okay, so now I'm married, right? So now I can't do the things that I want you to do, right? Now I'm a father. I definitely can't do the things that I want you to do, right? So here's what I mean by that is like a lot of times people will seek advice from their single friends, but you married. Sometimes people will seek advice from other guys, but they're not fathers, or they're not husbands, or they're not wives, or they're not engaged. So yes, they may mean well, but until you've walked in those shoes, until you walk down that path, we can't have that conversation.
Yeah.
We really can't have that conversation. And so in other words, it's sort of like, who we hang around. Like one of my mentors used to always say, if you hang around non-broke people, you're going to be the 10th one. Right. So who we associate ourselves with is important as well.
Yes. Yes. And I'm going to give you another little piece of that too, because while I understand that, I also want to pull another thing out. And I'm not, look, I play devil's advocate sometimes.
Oh, listen, I'm with it.
So like when you said your single friends versus your married, having friends that married, let's be conscious too, that you could have some toxic married friends.
You're absolutely right.
And have some very sound and supportive single friends that are going to hold you accountable and not allow you to say the things or do the things that you're doing. So it doesn't necessarily mean that because you're in different stages of life that they can't assist you. More so, but I do get what you're saying. As a whole, you got to do that. If my boy is telling me to do something and I'm getting in trouble every time I listen to them, maybe that's a disconnect. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that. That's a real thing. Also realize, like you said, you can outgrow friendships. You can just be in different stages with people. Yeah. And let's go a different way. I'm gonna go a different way. I can be a doctor. Okay, let's say I'm a doctor.
Okay.
And I have all my doctor friends. We're all successful. We live in Beverly Hills. We have these wonderful, lovely houses, and we all married with 2.5 kids, and a pool in the backyard, and a Benz in the front. We all seem happy, right? We seem wonderful. Mm-hmm. Guess what? We seem happy. We seem wonderful. Right. Go in that group and say, I can talk to all these people because they're successful and they're educated, and assume that they're going to be good people to listen to me and give me right advice. I would be wrong because everybody lives different lives. Yes, it's better than probably being around, people that have negative influence, but I don't know what their mental state is, number one. I don't know what trauma they've dealt with and they're dealing with. And also, I don't necessarily know if their situation is toxic or not, because just because it seems like it's fine doesn't mean it's not. So although it's great to have good people around you, and as you should be choosing your relationships, I still want y'all to hear that having this unbiased person sometimes will make you realize that certain things that you thought was healthy, like for example, if I think it's normal, I don't know, I'm trying to give an example of what people do. If I think it's normal, okay, if I'm in a relationship and my husband's out, I'm not married yet, but I'm speaking into existence. And my husband's out with his friends,
okay,
and, I know they're out there, and I think it's normal to, while he's out, call him 20 times within a 3-hour period. If this is what I've always done, and my girl's like, yeah, girl, keep doing that, do that. That's what you're doing. I'll just do it forever, right? I'll just be like, fine, this is what I do. This is how I keep my man. You know what I'm saying? Until maybe I go to talk to somebody and realize, yeah, that's really showing my rejection, my fear of losing out, my control issues and things like that. It's possible in certain environments, I would have not known that without actually going to that unbiased thing. So, I really want to make sure nothing you said was wrong. I just want to put that out there because I know people, that's the first thing they say. I don't need to go to therapy. My boys got me. My family got me. We close.
Yeah.
I talk to my mama every Friday. We good.
But you know what? And as even as we're having a conversation, I'm just thinking of some different things. So here's one thing, right? So I worked with my my mentor. He has his own social services company, and I do outpatient. I do in-home counseling. So in-home counseling I do is with children and families, and the outpatient I do is with adults, both adults and children. Majority of the people in the practice are Caucasian. A Caucasian, and here's the difference, right? You get a Caucasian person, they'll spill their whole life to you in the first session, and you're like, I'm just. Whereas with African Americans, it's like it's almost like it's non-existent. It sort of seems like it's like a fear, or it's sort of like this, like you said, this big taboo. And then I think a lot of times, Paris too, is shame and guilt, right? There could be some shame and guilt there. Some things that, are hurtful, or even then, or let's take it back even deeper. There could have been some things that occurred where, let's just say, the child told mommy or daddy, but no one believed them, or told auntie, nobody believed them. Boy, that didn't happen to you. You wasn't sexually assaulted. You wasn't abused, or boy, that didn't happen to you. They kind of just dismiss it. So as a result, if my own immediate family dismissed it, who's going to listen?
And that's what it is. And like you said, we still have this. I mean, let's be honest, in the Black community, we still in 2021 still have people saying stuff like that. Stay in the family. Don't tell the family business. You 50, 60 years old. Don't tell the family business. This happened in 1920. Don't tell the family business. That's the thing. And it's this code of secrecy. Even in our urban communities, we got the no snitches. Snitches get stitches. It's this idea that you cannot be honest about whatever your truth is. And so therefore, like you said, like one of the saddest things I ever hear is when people tell the truth and the parent or whoever doesn't believe them. That's just, that has to break your sense of trust, right? Like if that doesn't spill out trust issues, it just really is. And how do you rebound from that, right? Because first of all, you have to admit that you've had that type of failure, right? And being able to even say, and that's why I tell people, they say, oh yeah, well, you got those type of deep issues, you should go to therapy. I'm trying to let people know trauma is not always this big thing that happened. Sometimes trauma could be that I didn't feel heard as a child. So my trauma is that I feel that I'm worthless. Whatever your trauma is, however it occurred, how big or small, because guess what? People will try to minimize your real truth, right?
Yeah.
That's my issues before. I used to feel like, oh, I have a 2-parent household. I was in church. I went to school, I went to college. I had a great life. Everything was wonderful. And that was true.
Yeah.
but I did not feel like I had the right to complain because that person got molested by their dad, or because that person was jumped into a gang when they were 6, or because that person lost both of their parents. I didn't ever feel like I had a right to deal like I had an issue because I'm alive, ain't I? Right? I'm alive. You didn't die. What did I say? You didn't die. And so speak to that, because I think that is something that is a big thing about people feeling like, if you okay, what's the point? Why do I have to look at this stuff? Why do I have to talk about these things? Because it doesn't seem like I'm complaining, or it doesn't seem like I'm just not, speak to that.
So I think, just listening to your point, right, I think a lot of times people try to minimize their situation, right? And sometimes we look at, yes, granted, there may be other people who have a worse situation, right, than yours, but that doesn't mean that your situation is still your situation, right? You feel how you feel, right? You're still entitled to feel how you feel. And a lot of times I even would even do the comparison. I would ask my supervisor, like, for example, this person lives in a mansion, have all of these things, but what they consider a crisis, to me, it's like, you fine, you good. But in their mind, that's what it is for them. To them, it's their breakdown, it's their moment. And I think we're all entitled to have that moment. And I think that's the purpose too. A lot of times people minimize or dismiss their feelings because they don't feel valued, or they don't feel like it's a crisis. Like, I wasn't molested, so, but you depressed, I wasn't molested, but you felt abandoned, I wasn't molested, but, mom, your father walked out on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think a lot of times we try to put a label, or we try to put a number or a rating on, how bad the situation is, when actuality, it is what it is.
Yeah. And I think that's so true. I think a lot of people are not able to stand like flat-footed in their truth, right? That's the thing that I think I want to make sure that we're okay with, is that, yeah, your mom was a single mother, and then she did the best she can do, and you love her and you cherish her, and you would give your body, your life for her. But if you feel like there was things that really hinder you and it's causing problems to all your relationships, it's causing problems, how you doing it, it's okay to say, I need to work on this, because it's really affecting me. And not necessarily say, well, if I say I have a problem, that equals me not, valuing my mother in my life and saying she didn't do a good enough job. That's definitely what I want to do. Here, Pat says something here. She said, I think it might be cultural with sometimes with white people about being able to share a lot. Mm-hmm. And listen, I tell everybody, I think if you're Black, I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. I think that we all have suffered from PTSD just from the fact that we are descendants of slaves, just from the fact that racism is a regular thing, even if it's subtle, even if whatever, it's just something we live. So yeah, I mean, if you don't have all that like automatic PTSD, without the extra stuff on it, without the stuff in their life, I mean, yes, they can share easier because, hey, and honestly, the stigma's not there for them. Like, if you go, when I first went to college, oh my God, I went to U of I, and when I first went to school, the big culture shock. They walk around like, here, girl, I'm going to my therapist on Wednesday. I can't go out tonight. I'm like, did you just admit that you're going to a therapist? Now we're 18. I'm like, I didn't know anything about it. And I was like, I wasn't judging them, but I just never heard anybody say it. It was not a thing. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to individual counseling on Wednesday. She's like, girl, I can't live without my counselor. I don't know. Like, a lot of things I could do, but I can't. And they normalize it. They normalize the idea that, yeah, this is part of my self-care. This is part of me doing what I need to do to be okay, and embracing that. And I think that's why I want to make sure, even if it's not exactly that way, it gets to a point like, you know what, hey bro, I thought this therapy thing was stupid, but let me tell you something. I went to therapy and it's changed my life. I literally feel better. I literally think differently. I mean, it's some work. It's some work, but it's definitely something that's what I'm hoping happens here,
So I'll be a little transparent for a moment. So one of the things that my graduate school made us do, I attended Nyack College in New York, upstate New York. And one of the things that they made us do in our master's program is they made us go to therapy. Like, it was a part of our curriculum. Like, you couldn't graduate if you didn't go to therapy. We had to do 15 individual sessions and
Okay.
12 group sessions of therapy. And the purpose of that was, one, for you to resolve any issues that you may have, but to know what it's like in this, right? Right. So this is where we're counseling other people we know, what it's like to be on that side of the chair. But, I had that same mindset, like, oh, I'm fine, I'm good. Like, in actuality, I wasn't. In actuality, I had some mess. In actuality, I was broke, busted, and disgusted. You know what I'm saying? And I had some things that unresolved that I had pushed to the wayside. I had buried it. I buried it. I put a concrete wall over it with steel, and I wasn't, releasing these things. So, the therapist really got down to that unresolved truth of some of the things that I was dealing with, or some of the things that I held on to in my own personal life. And even then, to this day, I stopped therapy a couple of months ago. But just even nothing was going on, but just to have that conversation, just as a check-in. And I think, again, nothing doesn't necessarily have to be wrong, but sometimes it's just good to just the process, just to have that person to talk to, just to see things from a different perspective, as you mentioned earlier.
That's so good. I love that you were transparent there. I love it because it tells people how human you are. Look at you going to school for therapy. And then when they told you, well, you were thinking, oh, I'm just going to do this, so I have to do it. And not realizing that you also got some stuff to dig out. And then maybe that even helped you realize, wow, even though I am knowledgeable about the subject, we all have something that we can work on. We all have times when we can use some help to unpack some things, and we all can look back and see something that we can do. I saw a quote that I love one day. It was the best quote I saw. And I'm gonna get some of the comments. I know we got them in there. I got this quote I saw was, if you want a healthy relationship, go to therapy. If you want to parent healthily, go to therapy. If you want to be healthy in your career, go to therapy. And it was just saying all these basic things.
Okay.
I think that people think the reason to go to therapy is because I think I'm broke. I can't go through my day. I can't go. And somebody introduced the idea that therapy was less of it doesn't have to be a reactive thing all the time.
Yes.
Be proactive. It can be a preventive, just like you go to the doctor for your annual checkups so they can make sure that you are processing, that you are well. Same thing. Let me go make sure the way I'm thinking is well, because you know what? I'm immersed in my situation. I don't know. I could be off, and I want to make sure, like, I'm a parent. I don't always get it 100% right. And so sometimes I talk to other people about parenting things, and, even their parent is going to be different from me. Sometimes realizing that I want to make sure that, I have this and I'm being right, and even when I went therapy with my son, realizing that the way I spoke to him, because, hey, you're going to respect me. This is how we do this. And I'm not. And realizing that, and looking at it from his side and his point of view, and then I could do better. And then also helping him to process things. So it's like just having those tools are so important. It doesn't mean you're broke. It's a preventive thing. If you never went to therapy, I'm going to say it now, you should do it at least once. Go see, check it out. You'd be surprised at things that you need to unpack. You'd be surprised at things you need to look back at, or even just to see what you're doing and how you're doing things, how important it is.
And you know what, Paris, and just thinking about that. So I have my podcast show. My sister had talked about there's purpose to the pain. So here's why I say that is that when you go through therapy, right, as you begin to unmask and unleash these things, right, when you get to a point where you're healthy, you're emotionally stable, then now you can reach out and help someone else, right? Because see, why? We all have a story, right? We all have something that we can share. And a lot of times the pain that we experience and that we go through, we don't even realize that, yes, we've experienced it, but it's really for us to help someone else out. It's really for us to encourage someone else. It's really for us to reach out here now and say, now I can walk with you. Now I can strengthen you, right? Because I've dealt with it myself, right? So, but until we deal with our own demons, how can I help you?
Look, I didn't ask you to preach, Ted. That's not what I asked you to do. Okay. I'm joking, but that's so good. That's so good Tad. I mean, that's the real of it. Honestly, your story, I mean, I tell people your story is meant to be shared. Don't keep it to yourself. Don't be shamed. Don't have the guilt. I don't care. You've been on drugs for 25 years and you just came out last year. Like that, you don't know who's literally not gonna think about not, making it to tomorrow. And them seeing you do what you've seen, like you feel like, oh, I'm doing horrible. Them knowing that you are doing what they perceive as amazing can help them go. So yeah, these are the type of conversations that needs to start to happen about it. And like you said, maybe like wildfire, it was spread and like, wow, okay, she went through and okay, maybe that can help me too. I'm looking at Tracy, what she said. I love it. That she introduced therapy to her children when they were young. And she also said she's always talked with her kids about it, and her kids and I retain their therapist. I think that's amazing.
That's awesome.
That they make sure that is something that's normal in their household. Like, to me, that sounds so dope. Like, I would love, I mean, I just think that it's awesome to say that, hey, we have our therapist, and then especially with growing pains, things that happen, and maybe you just don't feel like y'all talking or seeing eye to eye. Do you need to make your appointment? And knowing that you have that person that's going to hear you, that person that's going to help you walk through it, I'm sure it had to help tremendously in their communication and just their being healthy beings. I mean, I'm sure they're not perfect, but that they're dealing with things in a way that's really, really healthy. So that's amazing.
I have a message to share. And I received this message yesterday from someone that I know. And I'm not going to call out their name, but I'll just read the message. It says, "Hi, my name is blank. I was born blank. I never really had a father figure for most of my life. I feel extremely scared. I don't like to really express myself. I have insecurities. I hold grudges. I just want to be a better me. I feel hopeless. To be honest, I don't know who I am as a person." And that's coming from a 14-year-old.
Did you say 14?
14.
And see, that's so important. I'm grateful that you even shared that, because the reality is these kids are smarter. Let's be honest. They have so much more information at their fingertips.
Yes.
They are seeing things much younger. They're experiencing things much younger. They're dealing with traumas much younger. And so these are real things. And to believe that our kids are not, how somebody had to help me out. They had to tell me my child really doesn't belong to me. My child was predestined to be here on this earth. I'm just the carrier vessel. Look, they don't want to have that conversation, Ted.
Let's not even go there. Let's not.
we can't go there yet. But, to realize that I'm a carrier and I'm here to guide them like a shepherd through life. So to have this idea like I own them is false. And that's unfortunately how we were raised, a lot of us. And we don't realize that they're little they're little adults. They're growing. And so to understand that they have feelings as young as 3 and 2, they have feelings and they have to be, affirmed. And not only that, but when something's wrong, we have to give them a voice. And even when it's inconvenient, I think that's the one thing I wanted to say. But like, even when it's inconvenient, I feel like that's one thing I'm grateful for. I gave my son a voice that I wish I could take away sometimes when he was being disrespectful. But neither here nor there. The point was, I was grateful because I always wanted him to be able to say, you know what, I could talk to my mom if something was seriously wrong. You got to open up the idea that they can talk to you so that if something's seriously wrong, they'll feel comfortable enough to speak to you. And I'm sure my son hasn't shared everything with me. I'm not naive in that way, right? I'm not naive to believe he wants to speak everything with me, but hoping that it's something serious enough that he would want to come talk to me. But the fact that you said that somebody 14, I remember this young girl hung herself when she was 10 years old, hung herself in the closet. And I cried. My son was the same age. And I was like, oh my God, what happened in this young baby's life that made her want to take her life? What was going on? And that's when I realized that these kids, they're little humans. They have feelings. We say, oh, bullying. I went through that. I was bullied. That was no big deal. Just toughen up. And we don't realize that it could be a chemical imbalance. It could be just the fact that they're built differently, that bullying literally tears down everything inside of them. And so, like you said, that 14-year-old sent that to you. I'm grateful that at least they were able to reach out to you, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
hold that type of stuff inside. I was telling somebody the other day, 75% of the people that commit suicide are men. You knew that, right?
Yep.
75% of people who commit suicide are men. And I believe the age range is 25 to 64 or something like that. And it's just, the numbers are deafening. I'm going to post those later. I just was like, it becomes this idea that they're not thinking that they can say something and they hold it inside, and so they feel like they have somewhere safe to say something about. So, okay. So, I mean, listen, we could just go on and on about that. Tracy said her daughters are grown and she talks with them and encourage their peers to seek therapy. That's what it's about. Like, not only are you seeking therapy, but talk to your friends about it. Now it's normalized. And now we like, okay, yeah, I'll talk to somebody. That's dope. And Patricia said, yeah, let's keep the beginning of removing the stigma. Let's keep doing it. Claudia says therapy is necessary, like going to the dentist just to check in. Yes, preventive care is absolutely necessary. And Andre said, appreciate the conversation and the realness of it. Thank you, Andre. I appreciate you coming and checking in as well.
So Paris, I got to go back because you don't opened it up.
Okay.
But one of the things I think at the beginning, right? So even that when you was talking about our children, we have as parents, we have a responsibility to train them up.
Yes.
Right? The first teaching starts in the home. It starts with us. And one of the things that I commend my wife on is that our son is 9 months old. But even how you and I having a conversation now, we talk to him just like that.
As you should. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I hate baby talk. My daddy told me don't do no baby talk to them. They're a little humans. Yeah. So when you say you carry on, I have to give the as you should. I'm sorry.
We talk to him. So like if he's having a little tantrum, I'm looking at him like, sir, what we doing here? Or she's like, Elijah, use your words. But like just teaching him that, and it's like it's hard because we're both therapists, right? So it's like
you got two therapists in the house. Yes,
it's gonna be interesting as he grows up, and if he has anything like if he has a mouth like me, he's gonna be a trip. Like literally, my wife laughs because literally she's like, when you're fighting with your son, you're fighting with yourself.
Period. Period.
but all jokes aside, like it really starts with us and how we mold them, how we guide them, how we shape them.
Yeah, well, and that's good or bad, all that. Because and then this is the fun. This is the fun part of it. They're talking about parenting because this is a deep dive. We don't want to go too far into that. But one of the things that I used to be like, oh, when I have a child, I'm going to do everything I can, and I'm not going to hurt them at all. Impossible. What I've realized is that you could do everything that you know to do. You can do everything that you think is thoughtful. You can read all the books. You could go to therapy every week and still not realize that there's something that they perceive as a injustice. There's something they perceive as a hurt, and that there's something that you did that didn't make them feel seen or heard. They can inherit fear. They can inherit you could be saying that, hey, I think it's, the best decision for you is this. And to them, the way they hear it is, you don't think what how I think is good enough.
Yeah.
You disqualifying me. And so what you don't realize, and I think that's another conversation sometimes that we need to have, and I'm probably going to have about parenting, is the idea that you can be an amazing parent, or you can do everything that you've known to do. It doesn't mean that you didn't. And still your child has some issues. So don't disqualify them, and understand that if someone says, I feel hurt by this, that doesn't mean I hate you and you hated me. It means I feel hurt by this and I need you to understand that. And then maybe we can talk about ways that we can avoid those pains in the future. And being okay as a parent to say, like, I had to be okay the first time I let my son really talk to me for real.
Okay.
When he said to himself, I got to be careful because we all on, I know what I was about to say, but when he was smelling himself a little bit,
right,
to say, and feel like he had some right to say something. And I might have not liked it. Here's a lesson that I didn't realize I was even saying it. I might have not liked his delivery. It might have not been right in the way he approached it. But once I got past my offense of his delivery,
right,
I had to realize that he might not know how to healthily express himself as a young man.
Okay.
Therefore, I excused the delivery and I stuck around to hear the message. The message was uncomfortable. I had to sit there and make sure he knew that he was heard. And I also had to not just let him know he was heard. I had to listen. Two different things. Sometimes we want to just say, all right, have finish your little point, but more so, and not being able to just regurgitate something. Yeah, you just said blah, 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 but being able to really process. And even if you don't fully get it, to let them understand that you're trying. Like I tell myself now, sometimes I'm like, I think you're seeing it a different way, and I'm not going to tell you how to feel.
Okay.
But can you see it this way? And then if he can't see it that way, I'm saying, okay, well, you know what? We just disagree about this.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And it's all right. But I want you to understand, I'm teaching him right now authority levels. He turns 18 next week. And I teach him about authority levels. Listen, okay, he think he a old man right now. Okay, he's a young man. But that's a whole nother story. But about, because I want him to be successful. I want him to thrive. And so I'm teaching him about how to even be when he's not with me. And so it's a whole thing, right? That I'm trying to pull from the heavens. I'm asking God, listen, God, you gave him to me. Come on. But my point is I'm not taking it personally when he doesn't do something I want. I'm not taking it personally when he doesn't deliver how I think. If y'all women, and y'all on here too, I said it last week. If you want somebody to open up, if you want them to talk to you, you cannot put stipulations on how they express, especially at the beginning. Allow them to express, because guess what? They don't know at the beginning what it looks like to. You cannot say, well, if you don't say it like this, if you do all of that, I guarantee that's the fastest way to shut them down. Fastest way to shut them down. Whether it's right or wrong, I'm just telling you. You make somebody feel like the way that they're doing is not good enough, they're not going to even attempt to open up to you anymore. If I tell you I'm hurt and you try to tell me that I'm not hurt because I said this and because I did this to you, I'm no longer talking to you. Now I'm shaking my head like, okay, yep, you're right, baby. Whatever, right? Happy wife, happy life. I got you.
And I think you bring up a lot of critical points, and I think for me personally, I think the hardest thing, so at times, or the most challenging thing is that you have to practice what you preach, right? So as I'm out here speaking and ministering to other people, I too have my own family. I too am human, right? So now when it's time for me to have those difficult conversations with my wife, and I'll be honest, I'm not the one to be like, yeah, babe, we need to talk. Usually it's my wife saying, hey, babe, let's do a check-in. As immediately my response is usually to throw up my defenses, right? So I'm learning, right? I'm still learning how to okay. That's why we have two ears and one mouth for a reason, right? Because we need to listen twice as much as we speak. But I'm learning how to not be as defensive. I'm learning how to listen, and really not just listen, but to hear, right? When my wife is trying to make a point. So I think, like, as God continues to shape me and mold me, I always tell people, I'm not going to ask you to do something that, one, I'm not doing, two, have not done, or three, I'm not willing to do. Right. So I've been to therapy myself. I'm still working some things out. I'm growing. I'm still learning.
Yes. It's a process. Can we say this? And you tell me if you agree with this. See, I don't want to go too churchy, but just
listen, go there. Listen.
Listen. So, like, if anybody know what deliverance is, it's not something you do once. You do it. It's something that has to be done regularly. But multiple times, and there's layers. Like, we're like an onion. There's layers to be pulled off. Well, let's talk about with therapy. I believe therapy is, especially when you first go, I think you're having to go back. You're having to peel out things that happened in your childhood, things like that you don't realize affect everything. And so then once you finally get that, maybe you can say, okay, I feel better. I need to stop. I can stop now. But then I think I had a therapist on, and she said something that was so great. She said, she believes in coming, like you said, to check in every once in a while. If you have a traumatic event that happens, to check in. And then one of the things she said that was so cool, I never thought about, she said, you can come in when you're about to have transition moments in your life. And I'm like, if you have a family member that's sick and is about to die, or if you're about to get married, about to have a child, you're about to move to a different state. I said, she blew my mind. I never. She said, yeah, it's like being prepared. It's like going through in the checklist and saying that I want to be emotionally prepared because this is something that's going to change everything.
Yep.
I don't want to go into it,
blindly.
Exactly. And so I was like, oh my God, that was so good. So I was just like, that's definitely good to hear you as a therapist saying, yeah, I also still am growing. I'm still processing. I'm still working this thing out. Doesn't mean I can't help you out. Doesn't mean that, you're going to have one day of therapy and you're going to say, oh, I am fixed. No, it's going to mean that, guess what? I am working on me. I'm a work in progress. But the fact that you step up to actually work that's showing up. Like they say all the time. If you show up, like, man, that's half of the battle.
Yeah.
Show up and committing to actually doing the work. Being able to say, okay, it's not just showing up, it's me doing the work. I want to get this real good question real quick from Patricia. She said something earlier, and I'm going to pull up what she said earlier. First thing she said, how do we change the norm so that our young people can break the cycle? But she gave another question I think is similar. What are some of the things we can do within our community to help our children? Because like we were talking about, like you said, that 14-year-old man, and just us having kids, most of us listening have kids, or there might be some young teens on here. And, so what can we do to start to, number one, see, to kind of maybe, I don't know, what's the word I want to say? Be able to identify when there might be an issue, right? People that are in crisis and being able to help. And then the other part of it is, what can we do to make sure that we are being a good example and making sure we help people out, guide them through maybe.
Okay, so I'll just answer it freely. So I think one great thing is modeling, right? And the reason why I say that is, we live in the year 2021, right? I'm about to be 36 years old this year. And, just thinking of back to when I was a teenager, I didn't get my first cell phone until I was 16 years old. I was working in, right? So my point is, we didn't have social media, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have Instagram, right? So that's one. So I think a lot of what these teenagers or these children are seeing, right? They're seeing these rappers, they're seeing these actors and actresses, and they're receiving their influence from them, right? So, you have girls saying, oh, I want to change my body, I want to change my nose. You having guys thinking that, they have to be this strong person, or, yeah, I want to make all this money, or I want to do this, I want to do that. So it's like, where are they getting this influence from, right? They're getting it from somewhere, right? So I think as professionals, or I think as just community leaders, we have to lead by example, right? We have to model that behavior that we wanted to see, right? What's the point of me yelling at my son for cursing if I'm cursing at him? what sense does that make, right?
Sir, don't bring that up, because you're gonna get some people upset in here. Don't do that, because you already know. Don't do that.
And listen, I'm not here to how can I say? I'm not here to receive likes. I'm here to tell the truth, and the truth is the truth, right? So we having the conversation, right? So let's have the conversation. Let's not skirt around the issues, right? So that's one. Two, I think a lot of times, even I learned this from a lot of my older mentors that are fathers who have teenagers or grown children, and they really tell me being present. And I don't mean just because you live with a person doesn't mean that you're present. I mean being active, right? I mean, my grandmother told me years ago, she was like, I used to go through your drawers. I used to go through under your bed. Why? Because at that point, you wasn't communicating. You wasn't talking. So I needed to know, if you wasn't telling me what was going on, I was going to find out some way or somehow. And I'm not saying you may have to go through those lengths, but sometimes, just asking your child what's wrong and just sitting there, just you being present shows them, wow, they're ready to listen. They're willing to listen, right? So I think a lot of times we have to model like what we want to see. Also, a lot of times I'm learning community is important, right? It takes a village to raise a child. Sometimes, your son may not feel comfortable sharing with parents, but he may be comfortable sharing with Auntie Vi or whomever, or Uncle such and such, or Goddaddy or Godmommy, right? But the thing is, I think as long as he's getting it out, as long as he has that outlet, then that's important as well. I'm trying to think of some other things, but those are the immediate things that come to mind.
Those that you said a mouthful, and that was good. And I love all of what you said. It's about modeling it, and then also allowing the community part of it. That's a huge piece that people talk about, no new friends. I don't need anybody. A lot of times they don't have the strength or and of having options. A lot of times, let's be honest, we have a lot of single family. I mean, I'm in one, but I have a village. I have people that care for my son that will listen. My son hates it sometimes. People come up here and say, "Oh, what you doing?" Nah, fam, that's not what it's gonna be.
We're not doing that, right?
but he listens it. He listens to it, and he receives it because he knows that they have they're coming from a place of love.
Yeah.
And you said being present. I tell people all the time, proximity. I'm gonna put that on a shirt, or it's gonna be a quote, y'all. This is my quote. Proximity does not determine intimacy. It does not determine intimacy. Just because you think, oh, I'm in this place, I'm your mama, or I'm your sister, or I'm your cousin, I obviously know what's going on with you. I'm the closest to you. It don't mean anything. Proximity doesn't mean anything. It's about the level of intimacy and that you share. And a lot of times what we don't get is that if you are somewhere and you're with that person, you think, well, of course I know everything about them. You don't realize that they really, honestly, are not expressing these things to you, whether it's known or not. And now you might not be the closest person. You might think you are, but you might not be the closest person. And people get offended. Oh, you act like your friend's close to wall. I mean, you should probably say, instead of being offended, say, okay, let's work on our relationship. But more importantly, I'm glad that you had somebody, right? Mm-hmm. I'm glad you had somebody to talk to that you felt comfortable and was able to share. Tracy said something that was good on here. She said, when to that question she was talking about, she said she thinks it would help if they would have safe places for children to come to, right? And we talked about that earlier, being able to express themselves. Once they feel safe and cared for, they usually talk and open up because they must trust you. I mean, they have to trust you. Yep. And the reality is that that's not always the popular opinion. I mean, how many of us grew up saying, my kids not my friends? I've been told that. I've said it. Okay. And I felt that way for a long time. But I understand because it's a respect and it's a boundaries, it's an authority thing. But I believe as I get older, what I now say is, I want you to want a relationship with me. I don't want you to feel like you have to have one. Now that's my new thing. I am fostering what I want. I understand that you're about to be 18 and you literally can do what you want to do. I want you to want to talk to me. Okay. What can I do to transition this? Right. You're going to be, you don't know it all. He's not, my son's going to need me for a long time, but I also am making him not need me. Let me be clear. He's not going to need me because he can't take care of himself. Yeah. He's going to want to interact with me. I'm going to provide for him because he's my son, but I'm trying to raise him to be independent and have his own things. And so now I don't want to force him to interact with me. I want him to want to interact because I'm in an environment where I respect his autonomy. Okay. And making and us knowing what that feels like and what that means is super important, so like listen, y'all, this conversation has been good. Like, I think we deep dive into a lot of stuff, and that's why I love the conversations, because listening on to one conversation, that's why Clubhouse is so popular, because literally you can go into rooms and be in conversations or listen to conversations that you might not have been privy to, and the conversation can literally change your thinking, your mindset. It can give you other perspective on a thing, and that's why we're talking. So I want to sum it up. So this is like the last broadcast in February. It was too short. I am so grateful for my guys that were on here. I'm so grateful for my women that are on here that shared it with their sons, their husbands, their fathers, the men that they love in their life. And for any men that are on here, Ted, I want you just to kind of give us a final statement about, mental health and why we need to just be proactive about it. Just one, give a final thesis.
Oh, yeah. No, all right. So just to sum it up, right? I mean, you guys have been listening for the past hour or so. So we obviously know that mental health is very, very important, right? Just like, wellness, your physical health, your dental health, your emotional health and your mental health are important, right? These all connect, right? So in other words, in order for us to be a better father, in order for us to be a better brother, to be a better husband, to be a better, leader, to be a better whomever, right? In order for us to be better, let us begin to work on ourselves, right? And I always believe that until I can hear my mentor's voice, until we're honest with ourselves, until we make up our minds who we're going to follow or what we're going to do, until we make a decision to get the help, to say, you know what, this burden has become a little too heavy for me to carry. I thought I could do it, but that's not working out for me, right? Insanity is doing the same things over and over, expecting a different result, right? We've been carrying the burden for the past 15, 20 years. How's that working out for us? It's not working out, right? So now enough is enough. And I think I'm thankful for social media in a sense, because social media has been really just blasting mental health, really just putting it out there, right? It's nothing to be ashamed of now. It's almost sort of like, it should be a normal routine. And I'm so grateful and appreciative for each of the listeners for chiming in and being transparent and letting them know, like, hey, yeah, I go to therapy. It helps me out. And the funny thing is, and last point is, I had a professor. He's a doctor, a PhD. He's still in therapy. He's been in therapy. He's been a therapist for about 30 years. He's been in therapy himself for about 15, 20 years. So, and we have to realize, Paris, too, that hurt people hurt people.
Period. But you're not going to realize you're hurt until you understand that sometimes you're too close to it, and you are too close to you. Yeah. So I'm understanding I'm hurt.
We have to get on, because we about to go there.
We gotta go, because we don't want to go there. But so I'm have to talk again, Ted. I appreciate this. I love talking to real people, and we have good conversations and talking about stuff. But listen, you have to be able to understand that you're hurt, and you don't realize that you're not going to look at it takes a lot for somebody to look in their face. I am toxic. Nobody wakes up and says that.
No.
That's just not usually how it goes. You're not gonna. Most people don't you be able to be that self.
Yes.
And so, let's see. Claudia said something. Social media is finally helpful in respects to the stigma. Normalize activities of self-reflection and actualization. I love the conversation. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you. I appreciate all of you guys. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see Francine said something. Powerful conversation. Love it. You were both awesome. Go, bro. Keep using your voice. Hey, listen, they must know you.
I can make a disclaimer. Yeah, Claudia is my wife. And then Francine, that's my sis. So thank you.
Hey, listen, I appreciate y'all coming on. I appreciate just coming in. And listen, all contributions to the conversation are necessary. And so Ted, I can't say enough how you have helped. I appreciate you. I think that I think it's dope for guys to have stepped up and say, hey, yeah, I'm not getting anything from this, but I'll contribute to it. Just to be able to give that male energy to it. And so I'm super appreciative. I think that we're going to have to do this again sometime. Hopefully you come back, you have the time. I hope so.
Definitely. We're going to have a conversation about God sometime too, because you started going there and I was like, all right.
Listen, I mean, we can go. I listen, I like the full gamut of it. I like to talk. Can you tell? I like to talk. But wrapping it up a little bit, I told you I was always going to go over an hour. It would just never end up like staying within it. But thank you guys for coming on. I hope you all really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Please share with someone, even if you didn't do it before. Think, I don't know who could help out. If they don't have Facebook, go to YouTube and share it. That somebody can watch it. Send it to your grandpa, because guess what? Grandpa can get some therapy at 60 and 70 and be healthy and live a life that's good because he got more years. Like, you share with your kids. You don't listen. That 14-year-old. You don't stop sitting here and saying your kids don't know stuff. They are they know way more than you know. They into way more than you think. Mama and daddy, they are. So you just have to get to a point where I want to give them the better information before they get it from the rest of the world, right? I want to be able to, give them something that I think is good. So I hope that you all have an amazing weekend. Y'all know how I end it off. I'm always going to tell you that you are enough. Right? You know why I'm going to say it? Because I'm going to say it enough till you actually believe it. And it's not just for my women. Y'all know y'all men don't think it matters to you. But you are enough, men too, you're enough to invest in yourself. We talk about self-investment in business. Everybody want to start their own business and be an entrepreneur. That's wonderful. That's great. Financial freedom, wonderful. But guess what? If you're not healthy here, if you don't have the right mindset, you're not going to be happy. You're not going to grow, and you're not going to be able to enjoy it. You're not even going to thrive, because sometimes it could be things that's holding you back there. So let me tell y'all something. You are enough to invest in yourself. All right. I'm going to leave you guys with that. Y'all have an amazing weekend. You know what I say? Self-care all time. Do something nice for yourself. Go take yourself out to eat. Cook yourself something nice. Watch a movie. Take a long bath. Light that candle that you bought from Bath and Body Works. I know y'all bought 13 of them when they was on sale. Light one of them, okay? And go ahead and read you a nice book. Whatever y'all need to do to take the edge off, you deserve it. You're worth it. Final things, I'm sorry, I want to remind y'all, go to my website to check out my shirts. I still have to the end of the month, buy one, get one off of any of the shirts I have on the website for the women. I mean, not for the women, but just my shirts until March 1st. Come on, y'all. Buy one, get one. Come on. Just get one, right? Give them out. Give the gift of confidence. Trust me, somebody needs to know you are enough. Somebody needs to know that they need to embrace their peculiar. I'm just saying. I don't even have to sell that. That's just what it is. And then I had told y'all I had the shirts for the men. Check it out. The one about the king. Come on, y'all. Come on. Valentine's Day just passed. Y'all better get y'all kings. Y'all hear that? Get them something, right? Get them. We always asking for something. Get them a sweatshirt. Get them a t-shirt, and get an emotional courage. Get you some. Get you some. All right. Well, y'all know I'm gonna finish up. Oh, one last thing. Tell them if they wanted to reach out to you. I don't know how. I know you said you do it. Can you give the information on how they can either touch base with you on social media, or if they want to listen to your radio show? Please give details of that, and I'll even try to put it in the comments.
So so I'm on Instagram. My username is Clutch KLUTCH 2013. As far as my radio station, the radio station is with my mentor, Future Network Radio. So it's www.future FUTURENETWRK radio.org. So we have different shows. Actually, I have to jump on the podcast in a few. But there's I do an inspirational hour of prayer in the mornings from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's different shows throughout the week. On Wednesday, I do a mental health check-in with my coworker, Miss Nina Boyd, who's a licensed professional counselor. We do what's called an hour of relief from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. So, go feel free to check out the website. There's a lot of great things happening. Let's connect. Let's work.
Okay. So can you just make sure what I just put in the comments was right? I'll try to hold on. Let me put. I know that's right, and that's right. Those are right. Okay. So there's in there, guys. If you want to go ahead and check it out, please. Y'all know he real. He the real deal. Y'all check him out. Support him. I appreciate him supporting me. I just feel like we'll see more of him later. So I really do appreciate this conversation. Y'all have a good weekend. Bye.